Welcome back to our phone-in, which is about encounters with aliens, which may sound weird, but we've based it on this new book by John Mack, who is the professor of psychiatry at Harvard Medical School. It's called Abduction, and it's worth repeating. We said this at the beginning of the show, John. Someone who started off as a skeptic, you're a Pulitzer Prize winner and all the rest of it, have actually been convinced that the people you interviewed at great length and talked to you about their encounters with aliens, that they were actually telling the truth. There is something out there trying to contact
There's some kind of authentic mystery here, which my training in psychiatry just hasn't prepared me for.
Because as a psychiatrist, you would be able, first of all, to identify certain psychotic states, certain mental states, and therefore dismiss the stories as being a result of that. And two, you would also, with all the skill that you have, I mean, you're a top American psychiatrist at Harvard, you would be able to tell when people were telling fibs.
That's what I'm supposed to be trained to do,
Yeah.
is to distinguish between fantasy, dream, psychosis, or authentic experience. And this has all the marks of authentic experience.
Because even if only some were lying, you would see an underlying pattern, wouldn't you, of either lies or mental disturbance. And the underlying pattern is people telling the truth.
Right, and these people don't want this to be true. I mean, they sometimes will come to me and want me to make it go away and give them a pill, and when they find other people are having the same experiences, they become shocked and tremble, and it freaks them out.
They really want you to explain it away, and in fact you
Yeah.
can't. All right, we've had hundreds of calls, and all recounting similar experiences. We'll kick off with Ros from Essex. Good morning, Ros.
Good morning.
Good morning. Something happened to you in 1983.
That's right, yes. Me and my boyfriend was driving along, and the car actually stopped. It was stopped by this UFO. I was taken aboard the thing.
Hang on, you're getting a bit too fast. How do you mean it was stopped? Do you mean something came in front of the car?
No, the car actually just conked out. The lights went out. It just ground to a halt. It had all the... It felt like it'd run out of petrol or something.
Yeah, and then you were taken aboard?
I was taken aboard the ship. They told me that, by telepathy, that their world and their race is dying, and they need to find other genetic material, and would I mind helping them with their experiments.
It's like Bob a Job Week, isn't it? You know?
To which you said, thank you very much, but can I go home, please?
Basically, yes, I did.
So what happened to you?
They did various experiments, and the upshot at the end of it is that I can't have children anymore, and it's completely ruined my life. I spent 10 years trying to prove that it was not, and it did not happen. I went to doctors, I got medical things, I eventually found out about a UFO society. In those days it didn't exist, you weren't allowed to talk about this kind of thing.
What did they look like, Ros?
They were about 3'6", very large heads, very large eyes, slit for a nose, slit for a mouth, no ears.
Were you terrified?
I was absolutely petrified, yes. And it was a case of whether I liked it or not, they were going to do this. And I lost 2.5 hours out of my life, and I spent 10 years trying to get it back.
Is this part of the experiences in your book, that people can actually find themselves genuinely traumatised, and in some cases physically, severely traumatised by an experience
This is
like
very
this?
common that they are traumatized in this way. The whole story is a very familiar one, and it's this dense pattern of familiar experiences over and over and over again that convinced me that there was something powerful going on here. I wanted to ask her, Ros, did you have, was there anything about ourselves that the beings communicated to you? They talked about their own race, but what about us? Was there any information about us?
Yes, we are going exactly the same way as they are. Our planet.
So what was did they tell you anything about the point of the two species coming together like this?
Yes, basically if they combine the two, then both species can continue as one.
You see, that's a very important point, because people, what are they up to? Or what are we doing? Or it's about us. What she's saying is that this is some connecting. We don't know who's managing this whole show anyway. I mean, who are the handlers for both of us, you know? But it is a bringing together which is serving perhaps the needs of both species in some evolutionary way.
What always bothers me, though, about stories like Ros's are two things. One, culturally, we've all seen E.T. We've all seen Close Encounters, and Close Encounters has the famous scene where the car stops, you know? So we all have that kind of access to that imagery, and it's very common. And yet, Steven Spielberg, when he wrote the film, did not claim that he had personally had that experience. And the second thing is this business of the two races coming together. That's informed science fiction writing for generations, certainly for decades.
What you have to understand that the process can go in the other direction. In other words, what Steven Spielberg did was to contact Alan Hynek, who was in charge of UFO research in the United States, to get the details of what we were already learning about this, and then he popularized
So life is informing art.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Ross, but actually, I mean, never mind these two species coming together, they obviously, you feel that they obviously hurt you. What happened to your boyfriend?
They never touched him.
Was he aware of something happening?
No, he didn't. Neither of us were aware of anything happening until we actually reached our destination and found we were 2 hours missing. It was after that that I started remembering.
Did you go into hypnosis?
We tried that, but unfortunately the poor people that tried to hypnotise us, the room just, there was a blinding light turned up, all the cameras went blank, the poor person was pinned into his seats and all the clocks stopped, so they had to cancel it.
Actually, I have to say that there's the things like clock stopping and things.
Well, that's one of the problems here is that, I mean, we're just beginning to develop a clinical tradition. I mean, these mental health professionals, for example, in Britain don't accept this, so they don't learn to do hypnosis with this type of case. And it's in the underground, the grapevine, these cases avoid mental health psychiatrists and other mental health professionals because they don't accept it and they put them into pigeonholes instead of kind of taking it for what it is, for whatever that is.
Right, okay.
All right, Ross, thank you for calling. I'm going to move on to Maria from Kent. It's an extraordinary story. Now, obviously, this is all about, this whole phone is about aliens. You weren't aware of what happened to you, though, until you went into hypnosis.
Well, no, it's not strictly true. I did have some immediate recollection because I actually had some physical injuries to my body 2 days later that actually sent me scurrying to the local casualty unit.
All right, just tell us what actually happened as far as you're concerned.
Well, I woke at about 3:15 in the morning. I had a very strange compulsion to leave my bed. The room was filled with very bright blue-white light. And I can remember being told, you know, not to be afraid, you know, like a sort of voice in my head telling me not to be afraid. And there was all this light in the house, and I can actually remember walking down my stairs feeling very sort of almost paralyzed, not just of the body but of the mind as well, without any sort of conscious action on my part. I'm feeling really terrified by that. And actually, at one point when I reached the foot of our stairs, I was actually, I don't know how, I can't explain this logically, but I actually went through the front door. I was floated up through the solid front door, up into what appeared to be a column of light, and I could actually remember seeing my house and my garden and that disappearing below me.
All right. Can you tell us what these beings, what they actually did to you? The injuries that you say you got?
Yes. At one point I had some hair removed from the back of my head which left a perfect circular mark where the hair had been taken out, not just by the root, it was just gone as if it had never ever been there. I had a needle at one point placed into the back of my head behind my ear, and I had another one placed up my nose, which actually caused my nose to bleed following the experience. And I had 7 little pinpricks on the little finger of my left hand.
Maria, what were they like? What do they look? I asked Roz. What do they look like to you?
They were about 3.5 to 4 feet tall, a sort of tan grey colour, very big eyes. They looked like undeveloped children in that their bodies were very sort of skinny, and they moved quite sort of rigidly. They shuffled rather than sort of walked. And I did notice a peculiar smell, like a sort of rotting vegetation smell.
John's nodding away here. This is
every one of these details I've heard in many, many cases. You see, each person brings out many subtle details that simply are not in the media, and that's what gives this thing its robust quality. And much of this remembered without hypnosis. You feel, well, hypnosis isn't accurate, or something like that. But much of the texture of this comes out just from recall like this.
So we seem to be, according to you then, what we're hearing is a common description of another species of life, which is about 3.5 feet high.
That's the most common
grey
one.
And waddles with big eyes.
Well,
really, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, and then these complex, detailed things, which do vary to some degree, but there is this kind of robust texture of the experience, which is simply deepens and becomes more elaborate, and details keep coming that simply are not in the media.
Well, they don't sound very pleasant. I mean, what on earth were they doing to Maria? Is this sort of medical experimentation? Is that something which comes out again and again?
Well, again, when you work with the individuals, you find out more about what this is about, what was done. There's a strong reproductive, as we heard in the first case, reproductive aspect of, sometimes they're hybrid children that are the product of the connection between the humans and the aliens. They're taken to see these hybrid children. This is a whole other race is being created. Sometimes there are profound spiritual experiences that people undergo when they go through that dark night of the soul, that terror. It becomes a whole nother realm of experience, of opening to the light, that the light becomes a divine light. So there's another dimension, but people have to go through this traumatic period before they get to that other level. This next call, David, I think, is a very interesting one.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Maria. And David, who's 34, calling from Tyne Wear. Morning, David.
Good morning.
Hi, tell us about it.
Well, I just had these experiences in the early 1970s when I was about 12 and 13. We were living in Wiltshire at the time, and I used to go off for walks into the fields on my own quite a lot. And one field in particular, just outside the village where we were living, I would always, entering this field, feel sleepy and fall asleep. And during this sleep, I would have these very vivid dreams about a light coming down into the field, and I would go into the light and meet all these beings, which were, I can only describe like the previous lady described them, about 4 feet high, like children like myself, because I was looking at I was about 4 foot odd myself at the time, and they were on about the same sort of level as me. And then I would wake up in this field and, you know, go about my business. And it was never a bad experience, though. They would, I would always go back to this field to experience these feelings again and see these people again. I regarded them like as friends.
Have you ever been back, David?
I went, actually, for the first time in about 20 years last year.
Did it happen to you again?
No, I not at all. I just remembered, it was last year that I saw the film Intruders, which brought back a lot of the memories for me, which I'd sort of buried, if you like, really. It was this film which brought them back to me and made me start wondering about them. And indeed, the memories became flooding back to me because of this film.
Which village was it, David?
Uphaven village in Wiltshire.
Which village?
Uphaven.
Uphaven.
Uphaven, yeah. It's my father was actually stationed at RAF Uphaven, and it was the first time that he'd rented accommodation outside of the RAF in the village there. And
strange things in Wiltshire.
there was a lot of strange things going on.
David, could you describe the quality of the dreams? Were they different from like ordinary dreams?
Oh, absolutely, yes. The fact that I would always go purposely to this field to fall into this sleep to have these dreams wasn't the run-of-the-mill thing anyway. The dreams were very, very vivid. I always felt safe in them, though. I never felt threatened. Although I did feel that I was being examined. That was the feeling, that I was taken into this light. And these beings around me, you know, with the large eyes and small bodies, and very pale skins as well. They were examining me. I had the only way I can describe it is like a CD disc. One of them had this disc in their hand and threaded it into my head. Now, I didn't have any scars or anything like that, but I know that it went into my head. And
we have to wrap this because we're out of time, but you say that's common as well.
Yes, the sense of something being threaded into the brain, the mind change, biochemical changes in the brain, implants put in, and so much remembered by him consciously. He's had no hypnosis at all. He said he's considering doing hypnosis. So the whole notion that hypnosis is doing this is just ridiculous when you hear a story like this.
Well, there are many, many more stories. They all seem to be pointing in the same direction. In your book, Abduction, Human Encounters with Aliens, Johnny Mack.
I don't want to meet any. Thanks.